Good dog and welcome to PA Dutch 101. This is video 18 in our series and we'll be covering the topic of describing the weather. If you have not seen our previous videos, I would ask you to go back and watch those first. The information covered in those videos will be helpful in understanding some of the stuff that we'll be covering today. Although this video is not a grammar-based video, this is a vocabulary building video. So none of the grammar videos are necessary in order to understand what's going on, although they do help. So let's jump into being able to talk about and describe the weather, or as we say in Dutch, es weather. Okay. When asking about the weather in Pennsylvania Dutch, we want to use the following phrase. You want to ask someone, what's the weather like, or how's the weather? We use this question. Wie is es weather? Wie is es weather? Wie is es weather? Wie is es weather? Okay? That's the base question. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you a list of ways of answering that question depending on the weather outside. And the first one, for the sun is shining. Die Sonne scheint. Die Sonne scheint. Die Sonne scheint. The sun is shining. How about if it's raining? Es regnet. Es regnet. Es regnet. In the video on the alphabet and pronunciation tips in Pennsylvania Dutch, we learned about those G's in the middle of a word and why they don't make a G sound. Remember that it's not regert, it's regert. Almost making a Y sound in the middle there. Okay? It is snowing. Es schneit. Es schneit. Es schneit. It's thundering or storming. Es donnert. Es donnert. Es donnert. It's windy. Es windig. Es windig. Es windig. I don't think we've covered or seen this word in any of our previous videos. Apostrophe S-I-S, sis, is a contraction of S plus is, I-S-S. It is. You'll hear this a lot in Pennsylvania Dutch. In fact, the general rule of thumb is when you are saying S, is, and then followed by something else, we always contract it and say sis. So, sis windig, es ist windig, both would work, but normally you would hear someone say sis, sis windig. Same way with it's nice outside, it's a nice day. Sis schee. Sis schee. Sis schee. And it's nasty out, or it's not nice weather outside. Sis schlecht. Sis schlecht. Sis schlecht. Okay? So there are 2, 4, 6, 7 different ways of describing the weather outside. Okay? So we've described what the weather is like. We can also then talk about temperature. It's cold, it's hot, it's warm, etc. Let's get those phrases. It's cold outside, it's the middle of winter. Sis kalt. Sis kalt. Sis kalt. It's cool, not quite cold. Sis kiel. Sis kiel. Sis kiel. It's warm. Sis warm. Sis warm. Sis warm. It's hot. Sis haze. Sis haze. Sis haze. Okay. And let's say you actually want to say what the temperature was. We can use this phrase, sis, then the number, 30. The word for degree in Pennsylvania Dutch is graad. 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 Although most people won't use that word, they'll just say, es ist 30. Es ist 30. Sometimes you will see or hear Pennsylvania Dutch speakers say, like, it's 30 degrees outside. The word for outside is draus. D-R-A-U-S, draus. So it's quite common, you might hear someone say, es ist 30 draus. It's 30 degrees outside, and they drop the word grad. You can use it, although most Dutch speakers don't. Es ist 30 draus, or es ist 90 draus. It's 90 degrees outside. Okay? A couple more words that we can learn to describe weather, besides the ones that we've already covered. The word for cloudy in Pennsylvania Dutch is driep. 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 The word for dry, there's actually two. You can say daar, 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 or drukke. 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 For drizzling, soetlich. 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 For foggy, neblig. 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 Humid, schmodig. 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 Damp, feucht. 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 And this always reminds me of something my grandmother would say, especially on like fall days or early winter when it's that cold, wet feeling outside. Not necessarily raining, but it has that damp feeling and it's cold. In Pennsylvania Dutch we can use the phrase, es ist kellerfeucht. Feucht meaning damp. Keller is the Pennsylvania Dutch word for cellar or basement. So it's basement damp outside. You know that feeling if you go in an old house, you go down in the basement and it's damp and cold. My grandmother would say that a lot about the weather outside, depending if it felt like that. Es ist kellerfeucht draus. It's basement damp outside. So it's a good descriptor word, I think, because I really think it hits home. It does for me anyway. And anyone that grew up in like an old farmhouse or a house that had not necessarily a finished basement, you get that feeling down there. So feucht is damp. And the last one, icy, eisig. 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 Okay. Now, let's use all this that we've covered and practice a little bit. I have 4 cities chosen and a day of the week. And then for those days, I have a descriptor of weather by picture, just like you'd see on the weather forecast on television, and a temperature. Take a minute and jot these down, and then what I want you to do is create sentences describing the weather in each of the locations, including the name of the place, the day of the week, the temperature, and you could give the actual temperature, you could use it's warm or hot, cold or cool, and then also tell me the weather that's happening. Okay? So we have Gettysburg, Monday, 85 and sunny, Philadelphia on Wednesday, 40 and rain, Heidelberg, Germany, Friday, 20 degrees and snowing, and Los Angeles, Thursday, 63 degrees and windy. I'll give you another minute or so to jot those down, and then think about how you would describe the weather in each of those pictures, and I'll share with you my responses of what I would say for these weather situations. So think about all of the things that we've covered, because we're using things here that we covered in this video like weather, but we're also pulling back on days of the week and being able to talk about a location, things that were all covered in previous videos. Okay, hoping everybody has those because we're going to move on. You can always pause the video, write them down, and then go back. Alright, here are my answers for these situations, starting with the first one. Die Sonne scheint am Montag in Gettysburg. Es ist heiß. Is this the only answer? No, it's not. You could come up with and say exactly the temperature. We could also say instead of the sun is shining, because it's schön, it's nice out. This was the answer I came up with. Die Sonne scheint am Montag in Gettysburg. Es ist heiß. I broke it up into 2 sentences. It's easier that way. You don't have to worry about word order getting funny. Die Sonne scheint am Montag in Gettysburg. Es ist heiß. How about for the second one with Philadelphia? Es regnet am Mittwoch in Philadelphia. Es ist Kiel. Es regnet am Mittwoch in Philadelphia. Es ist Kiel. Just as a side note, some Pennsylvania Dutch speakers, instead of saying Philadelphia, will sometimes say Philadelphia. I've heard that before instead of saying Philadelphia. Either one is acceptable though. The third one, es schneit am Freitag in Heidelberg, Deutschland, es ist kalt. Deutschland is the Dutch word for Germany. So, es schneit am Freitag in Heidelberg, Deutschland, es ist kalt. And for the last situation, es ist windig am Donnerstag in Los Angeles. Es ist warm. Es ist windig am Donnerstag in Los Angeles. Es ist warm. Okay? So there were 4 weather situations. You were able to hopefully take the information given, put it into Pennsylvania Dutch, and be able to describe the weather in those 4 places. One way I would suggest you practicing these is practicing months of the year, let's say. If you're talking to someone or if you're jotting down and kind of learning on your own, pick a month of the year and based on where you live, describe the weather in that month. For example, you could say, in Jänner, in Pennsylvania, es ist kalt und es schneit. So in January in Pennsylvania it's cold and it snows. You might not live in Pennsylvania, maybe January wherever you live is the exact opposite. I got some viewers down there in the southern hemisphere, I hope. So that's a good way of practicing not only the weather, but also the months of the year. You could also then describe what the weather's like in the seasons of the year where you live, because we learned those as well. Or another good practice, wherever you get your weather, whether it's in the newspaper or on the internet or on television, look at the weekly forecast for your area, and then take that information and describe it in Dutch to somebody or just to yourself. It's a good way of describing the weather. Okay? Or to really give yourself a good chance, get on Weather.com and punch in exotic locations. Look up Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, something that, a weather forecast that probably wouldn't be the same as where you live, and practice saying that. Or go Sydney, Australia and see what the weather's like there and then describe it in Pennsylvania Dutch. There's tons of ways for you to practice describing the weather and being able to talk about the weather in Pennsylvania Dutch. So get out there and practice. Practice, practice, practice. And keep building your vocabulary. Don't forget, I always welcome emails and comments, concerns, complaints as well, and ideas for future videos at busterpa.yahoo.com. But that covers what we're going to instruct in this video on describing and asking about the weather. So bis die nächste Video. Mach's gut und schwätz Deutsch.